I'm Mike Phipp, and I was one of the original volunteers when the museum was on the far side of the airfield. I started there in about 1995. I was given the title by the museum of their historian, so that's why that's what it says on my badge, on the museum historian. And so they rely on me for the information boards that we have on the various aircraft, and also some of the displays that we have in the cabins here relating to the history of the airport and of the museum. Ideas for the museum started about 30 years ago, and we had a hangar on the airport at that time, and the original intention was to have a collection of jet fighters. At some stage, the airport decided that they wanted the space for expansion, so we had to move out of the hangar and clear all the exhibits. Luckily, we were able to find this space here, and we moved some of the exhibits across, and we found that we couldn't get all the jet fighters. They didn't make it to this new site. Since then, the museum has expanded, and we've got quite a few other different selections of aircraft. We've got airliners, base trainers, jet trainers, and we find that people find they like to come. It's a good experience. Not only are they looking at aircraft, we find that as well as an aviation museum, we want to say, right, we are a visitor attraction, and the youngsters like to come because they can sit in the aircraft, which they couldn't do when we had the original museum at the airfield. Oldest exhibits that we've had here since the museum was established on this site is a Meteor jet fighter, which is of 1940s vintage. This had been collected when the museum was on the far side, was brought across, was one of the first exhibits on this site. So it's important because the Meteor was the first jet fighter used by the Royal Air Force from the end of the Second World War, and it kept using Meteors for about 20-25 years after that. So that's why we're pleased to have one of the exhibits at the museum. The airport dates back to the Second World War. It was built in 1940 for the Royal Air Force, and it was used by them mainly for sort of training operations. We didn't see a great deal of activity during the war by the RAF. One important role it had was training glider pilots. These were in the large gliders which were used on D-Day, and they were towed across the channel, taking our troops when they were capturing the Normandy beaches, especially what was known at that time, the capture of Pegasus Bridge, which was something important. So that was all help on D-Day. Although the gliders didn't fly from here on D-Day, all the pilots were trained here. The Americans also used Hearn, as it was in those days, used Hearn for operations, both fighters and bombers towards the end of the war. This role changed in the end of 1944 when it became a civil airport, despite the fact the Second World War was still going at that time. And ever since then, it has been a civilian airport. It was at the time the only major airport in the country. There was no Heathrow at that time, so major airlines came here to Bournemouth. They couldn't go to London. But that's all changed by the 1950s, and things slowed up. Other important things here was aircraft industry, making of aircraft, and on the northern side there were large factories. We were building the Viscount airliner in the 1950s, 1960s. We built 111 airliners in the 1970s, 1980s, and we were also building bits of Concorde in the 1970s. Since then, the airport has developed, expanding for holiday flights. We've got the present situation now with a number of operators going to the Mediterranean, hoping to catch the sunshine.